Welcome back. Today we're going to be starting another new drawing. Today's drawing, however, is a different view set. In the past we've been doing single two-dimensional drawings like the puzzle. We've done a couple multi-view drawings with the support and the base plate. And today we're going to be doing an isometric drawing. An isometric drawing is going to be a single view drawing that shows an object three-dimensionally. In order for us to complete today's drawing, you are going to need a protractor. I picked up this combo pack with a protractor and a compass for a couple of bucks at the store, but a lot of times people have protractors sitting around the house in a junk drawer. I'm sure you might have one laying around. If not, you can pick them up at the store. A protractor's purpose is to allow us to select different angles outside of our normal 90 degrees or 0 or 180 degrees. So let's get started with today's drawing. So here we are looking at our support drawing. We've already completed this drawing once where we drew it as a multi-view or orthographic drawing, meaning we had our front view, our top view, and our right side view. And those were projected straight across from each other, the same size of each other, and centered on a drawing. Today's drawing, however, though, of the support is going to be the isometric version. So this right here is going to be the isometric drawing that we're going to be completing. We're not going to center this drawing on the paper. We're just going to draw it somewhere within our drawing space. And we are going to do that on a new title block. So we have a new title block ready to go. And this is going to be SK-04 for this drawing number. And all we're going to be drawing in here is full scale of the isometric view of the support file. For a support or for an isometric drawing, all of our lines right here and here are at 30 degrees from the horizontal or from the horizon. So if we were to draw an imaginary horizontal line right here, all of our angles are going to be at 30 degrees in one direction or the other, unless they're straight up and down, which is going to be 90 degrees. So for the most part, that's the general rule of thumb for this drawing, with two exceptions, and that's going to be this angled surface here and this angled surface there are going to break that rule. One way to look at that is if we were to draw those lines out with our protractor on the page. We've got our imaginary horizontal line, which is running between 0 and 180 degrees. And if we go up and to the right, we're going to be at 30 degrees on the protractor. Straight up is going to be 90. Up and to the left, depending on how you read the protractor, is either going to be 150 degrees all the way around or 30 degrees from there. It's the same thing, both directions. It just depends on how you read your protractor. So we are going to have to do a lot of construction lines to set up what we need to do, but essentially we're going to be following those 30 and 90 degrees. I have also posted a video in the classroom for how to use a protractor if this is your first time for whatever reason. So hopefully that can either teach you or refresh if you need more assistance on how to read a protractor. So here's our blank title block and border for the support SK-05. And I like to start by boxing in this entire view, and I'm going to start with this intersection right there. And I'm going to place that intersection anywhere on the page. I would like to use a normal dimension, I guess, for placement, so I'm going to go 1 inch above the title block is where I'm going to start from. And as we mentioned, in order to use a protractor, we have to have that horizon line. And it doesn't really matter where I start that out. So I'll put it right there. So I got a 1-inch construction line coming across the page, and I put a dot as my starting point randomly on that line. Now thinking about where the view is going to go, I don't want to put that dot way over here because I might run out of room to fit it if I put the dot way over there. So most of the drawing kind of a little bit off center. Okay, I'm going to draw my first 2 lines at 30 degrees from that point. So my first line is going to be 1.5 inches. I'm going to make my line longer so I can use the protractor if I need to. But right there is 1.5 inches. And then my second line for the front view representation of the isometric view. Again, I'm drawing my line longer, but that's going to be 3 inches. So I got a couple of dots represented right there. So now I need to get a 90-degree line off of that dot. So let's see. I will measure about where that dot is. It's about 3 1/8. I'm going to come up here. About 3 1/8. Which should give me my 90-degree up. And 90 degrees up is going to be 1.5 inches high. Right to there. I need 90 degrees up from my starting location. And that's also going to be 1.5 inches tall. And then I'm going to need 90 degrees up from my right side view. So I'm just kind of mimicking where that dot is from the border line. So I can draw my 90, and then I'm measuring 1.5 inches up. So I can connect those dots. And you can see we are starting to see the cube take form here. We just have 2 more lines in order to block in the cube for what we're trying to do. In order to get the next 2, I need to come off of this line here. And that's going to be coming off at 30 degrees over here. So I'm going to figure out how tall that is. 3 inches. Coming over, making a dot at 3. I'm going to draw a construction line. And then I can line up my 0 mark with 30 degrees. And I want 1.5 inches. And now that I have that dot, I should be able to connect the dots. And we can now see this cube, or this block, coming into shape. That block is going to represent the 3 views of the actual isometric drawing. So you got your right side view, your front view, and your top view. So now I need to start carving away and keeping the stuff I want to keep. So I usually use the surfaces that are lined up with the outside block. So these, that, and that surface are all on the outside block. I'm going to start with the right side view. So I'm coming up 0.375. So I'm just going to use the ruler and follow my existing line. 0.375. And that right there is actually going to be object lines. Now it's up to you when you choose to darken stuff in. I'm going to do it now so that we can start to see some things coming together, because sometimes it's hard to understand what this all looks like. So that is this right here. This is what we just drew. Okay, so if we look at this again, what else touches that surface that we know? I'm going to go and work over here with the front view on this chunk, which happens to be 0.375 wide. And it's 1 1/4 inches tall. So I'm following my grid lines again that I already have. And then 1 1/4 inches tall. Actually, I'm doing my 1 1/4 inch mark way over here. It'll be more accurate if I follow those dots instead. And that right there can get darkened in. Again, you can wait. But I know I want some people to be able to visualize this a little bit better. And then the next easy piece is going to be this larger chunk at the top, which is going to be 0.75 to here, 0.75 here, and 1.125, I believe, to right there. So along the back, 1.125. And that's going to be 0.375 wide. And then 0.75 deep. And 0.75 in. All right, so let's start darkening some of that in. So that should be the parts that are on the top view. Well, we got some easy connect the dots, putting this surface with that surface, which is no longer going to be following the 30-degree rule anymore for these two lines. It's just connecting the two sets of dots to make those two surfaces go. And I'm going to do that with an object line right away. Next we got this big surface here, and again connect the dots gets me the first set there. And technically I've got where the far intersection is going to be, which is also connect the dots for where this surface extends out and hits the edge of the wall is also connect the dots. And then somewhere from the middle down, so I have to find the halfway point down here, which would be 0.75, and then I can go ahead and do some connect the dots there. And that's some of the lines that are going to make up what's happening down there. However, I still need some more work to figure out where they are. For most of them. One of them I do know. This back one, looking at the handout, is an object line. Alright, so I need to come back to the front view, and we're going to figure out where this triangle set is right there. This distance is 0.75 over. And it's going to go straight up from there. But I'm going to need to figure out that angle again, or the distance. So I'm going to use my border line over here as a reference, about 5 1/16. And that should give me my 90-degree line. Essentially, wherever it hits this angle is where it's going to be kept. So I can go ahead and darken in. Okay, I need to run this line at my 120 degrees over here. So I need to use my protractor again, which means I'm going to need to find a horizontal. So measuring down to my baseline, I'm about 1 1/8 inches. Setting up my protractor right on that point at 30 degrees. I can now run that intersection up. It just about matches with the original one that was there, but that was for something else. So I'm going to go 0.75, which gets me to here. And I can start darkening in to that intersection. Alright, the only thing we're missing now is these 3 lines that are kind of showing us that it's a notch on the inside. So this comes back 3/4 of an inch at my 30 degrees. So again, I need to get a horizontal reference line here. Setting up the protractor, making a mark at 30 degrees. Remember where that point is. And this line here is going to be 1.5 inches, or 3/4 of an inch. Gets me to right there. So from there should be straight up and down if everything was drawn correctly for that. Those 2 I can keep. And then I need this line just to disappear off at 30 degrees down. So again, I need a horizontal baseline in order to do that. Set up my protractor upside down this time. It's still going to work the same. Find my 30-degree mark. Line up that intersection. And it's going to end up disappearing. It's longer than that. It's actually almost 2 inches long. And we don't have that. So it's just going to stop when it gets, and I drew it a little bit off there, but when it gets behind that part is where we're going to stop with that part. We do not normally draw hidden lines on an isometric drawing. So yes, there would have been some hidden lines back here at an intersection, but we don't draw those normally on an isometric drawing. We can see lots of extra lines on this page. Again, by now your construction lines should be very light. I should not see your construction lines when you're turning your drawings in very much at all anymore. There should be a clear difference between construction lines, those light disappearing lines, your object lines, which are the normal lines, and then your border lines. Should be 3 different sets of darknesses on your page, so make sure you are practicing those. And as you can see, there's lots of chaos on this drawing, so if you're not getting good construction lines, it's going to make for the drawing to be confusing and not as neat or clean. So this is the first isometric drawing that we have just completed of the support. We used our protractor today to complete this with 30 degree from horizontal, or the horizon line, degree lines, as we're going throughout this print. We have one more isometric to complete yet, and that is going to be, if you probably didn't figure out, the base plate. We are going to draw that as an isometric drawing as well. Hopefully this video tutorial was helpful in completing the support isometric.